Welcome to Dark Truths, Religion Uncovered. Tonight, we explore the contrast between ancient restraint and modern excess, asking what happened when words about God ceased to carry weighty consequences. We confront a crucial shift that has hollowed out reverence, the moment God's name morphed into common language instead of remaining a sacred utterance. In ancient theology, words were never neutral. To speak was to invoke, and to name was to acknowledge authority. God's name was treated with profound fear, representing presence, power, and holiness. It was not spoken casually. It was guarded, whispered, substituted, and revered. The command, "You shall not take the name of the Lord your God in vain," stretched beyond mere profanity. It was about weight. God's name carried gravity, demanding alignment between speech and life. However, modern belief often treats God's name as mere linguistic filler. We invoke it constantly and casually. God's name appears in slogans, arguments, humor, branding, and opinions. It is attached to ideas, justifies actions, and sanctifies personal preferences. While this may seem expressive, ancient theology would call it dangerous. Scripture never treats God's name as a tool. To invoke God falsely misrepresents him, and to align his name with self-interests is blasphemous. Words hold weight because they shape reality. Modern belief frequently forgets this truth as language has been diluted. Words become cheap and meaning fluid. But ancient faith recognized that speech was a moral action. Jesus warns that people will be held accountable for every careless word, revealing how careless speech reflects careless reverence. When God's name loses its weight, obedience falters. If words bear no consequence, truth becomes flexible, reverence diminishes, and God transforms from presence into concept. Ancient believers feared misusing God's name due to the risk of incurring judgment, whereas modern belief often fears silence more than misuse. We speak quickly, reactively, and confidently. Yet Scripture praises restraint, urging us to let your words be few. Silence preserves reverence and acknowledges mystery. Modern belief, on the other hand, often fills silence with commentary, explaining, defending, and deploying God without pause. Yet, explanation without reverence reduces God to merely an idea. Defense without humility turns him into a debate. And deployment without obedience transforms him into a brand. Ancient theology insisted God's name should only be spoken when one's life aligned with it. Otherwise, silence was safer. Sadly, modern belief frequently speaks without that alignment. God's name is invoked even when his character is neglected. This empties words of their power. When everything is spoken in God's name, nothing remains sacred. Tonight's truth is sobering. A faith that speaks too easily about God often listens too little to him. Words devoid of weight produce beliefs without depth. Ancient theology understood that reverence begins with restraint, while modern belief often overlooks this because expression feels more authentic. Yet authenticity without reverence slips into We close with a compelling question that ancient theology would pose to modern belief. If every time you spoke God's name required your life to align with his character, how often would you still say it? Thank you for joining us at Dark Truths, Religion Uncovered. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Have words about God lost their weight? Or does your belief still recognize when silence honors him more than speech? Subscribe, like, comment. Till next time.